bought it?
Right.
Your father and mother moved off there about 3 years before your parents finally bought the place?
Approximately.
All right. When did you move onto the property in relation to the time when your parents purchased it?
I was there all the time except for whenever I was back east.
What were you back east for?
Working, going to school.
How long were you away?
A year and a half, 2 years.
Go ahead.
Okay, Billy, now I would like to fit that into this 3-year period we have been talking about. When your mother and father moved out, did you move out at the same time or did you stay on a while?
Let's see. Let's put it this way. All the time that the property has been going, I have either lived on it or I have been back east.
I understand that, but approximately 3 years before your parents bought it, they moved out
They bought a house trailer
and moved over on Wilson Way?
and moved to Wilson Way.
Okay, and that is the reason why they moved off the Fargo property. Is that it, when they moved on to Wilson Way?
I don't know what the reason was for moving out of there. They still had a house trailer on that property.
Where was that?
4007 Fargo Road.
Where was it sitting?
Same place as the one is now.
Is that the one you are living in now?
No, they traded it in on the other one, but also there is a cabin there on the same property.
Well then, I don't understand the whole picture about the property. At the time your parents were living out there, when your brother-in-law owned the place, how many units were out on that property?
3.
One house, a cabin, and a house trailer? The house is the one you live in, or?
It is the one I was living in, yes.
Then the cabin, what is it like?
It is just about the same size of a normal living room.
Anybody live in it permanently?
No,
Consistently?
no.
What is it used for?
It did have a bedroom out there
For what?
for sleeping.
For whom?
Me.
When you were living alone?
No, I was in the house. Whenever I was renting, I lived in the house.
Is this before you were married?
I lived in the, it was either in the house or in the house trailer or in the cabin all this time.
Alright, what is the trailer that was out there, let's say, at the time your parents bought it?
A 27-foot Schultz.
Where is it now?
Traded it in on the other one.
The one that went to Wilson Way?
Right.
Alright, did they ever live in that Schultz trailer on Wilson Way?
No.
Okay, when they moved out from Fargo to Wilson Way, did you continue to live on one of those units on the Fargo property?
I don't remember because that might have been the time when I went back east.
Alright, let's assume it was the time you went back east. You said you were back there a year or so?
I was back there a year, year and a half.
Then you came back to that property to live?
I lived, that was after they bought it, and I lived in the house.
Wait a minute, I am confused now. That was after who bought it?
My folks.
Well, there is a 3-year lag here, and I don't quite figure it out yet, counsel. He said they were away from the property about 3 years before they finally bought it.
I don't know any particular dates. I couldn't tell you for sure whether it was 3 years or 3 months.
What kind of records?
You are talking approximately?
What kind of records do you have that might show the dates you are talking about?
I have got checks that showed I paid rent, if that is what you are referring to.
Counsel, I am going to object to this line of questioning unless your client can offer some copies of records.
So let me continue. Billy, can you produce any record of these payments, any kind of record?
Yes, I have checks.
Paid to whom?
My dad.
Did you ever pay any of those checks to your brother-in-law?
No,
Did you ever pay rent to your brother-in-law?
no.
Did you, after your parents moved over to Wilson Way, did you live out there on that property and not pay rent to anybody?
There have been occasions where I didn't pay monthly rent, yes.
How about when you came back from the east?
I paid rent.
To whom?
My dad,
Right away?
yes.
So can I assume from that your father owned the place at the time you came back from the east?
I guess you could, but I wouldn't say for sure because I really don't know. You are talking quite a while ago.
Off the record,
Yes.
Fine, counsel.
is he confident to say, I have told him not to answer a question he doesn't know the answer to, Clarence? This is one reason he doesn't really know, apparently. Your client knows that he is the one that bought it.
I can't figure it out from this. You have introduced 2 or 3 things here I have never heard of before.
I have no real objection to the question, except I don't know if you're going to get the answer from him. He apparently doesn't know.
Well, I think this is a fairly simple question. Are we on the record now? Do you have check stubs going all the way back to the first time you started paying rent to your father?
No,
All right. Was your father and mother paying rent, as far as you know, to your brother-in-law?
I don't know.
No idea?
No.
How long did you live in that house with them?
How long did I live in the house with my folks?
Uh-huh.
All my life.
And you have no idea whether they were paying rent to your brother-in-law or not?
No.
All right. When were you married?
1968.
Do you know the date?
25th of April, I guess.
I take it that your wife was living out there on that property after you got back from the east
Yes.
with you?
Yes.
Well, between the time that your father and mother moved over to the Wilson Way address and the time that you came back from the east, was there any time in that period in which you and your wife and your children were living out there on that property?
Yes.
Can you give us a rough idea of what that period of time was?
2 years, I don't know.
Well, approximately 2 years. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Now, during that time, did you pay rent at all times to somebody?
Not at all times.
Okay, can you tell me about how much of that 2 years you did pay rent to somebody?
Most of it.
And to whom did you pay rent?
My dad.
And during that entire time, your dad and mother were living in the trailer out on Wilson Way?
Right.
And you and your mother had your own family situation together?
Right.
Ate together as normal families do?
Right.
And at the same time, your father and mother were maintaining entirely separate residence in the trailer house on Wilson Way?
Yes.
Now, the fire that gave rise to all of this, as I understand it, happened on October 1st of 1975. Is that right?
I couldn't verify that. I don't know.
Does it sound about the right period of time?
I would be guessing if I said yes because I don't know.
You have no idea at all?
No.
Haven't you got any record around the house that would tell you when this thing?
Yes, I have got a newspaper clipping.
Counsel, I would request that he produce a copy of that.
Okay, at the time that fire happened, you had a Volkswagen panel of some kind.
Yes.
Is it a panel truck or one of those open back deals?
Well, it opened up in the back. I had windows in the back.
It wasn't like a pickup bed or something like that?
No.
Closed van?
Right.
Now, when had you gotten that Volkswagen?
Close to a year previous to the accident, I guess.
You had purchased it from your father for $300 or something of that kind
Yes.
in cash?
Yes.
And at the time that you bought it, he turned over the pink and white to you?
Yes.
Did you send it in to the registration people to have the registration changed?
Apparently they did. I didn't. Yes, I guess.
You say apparently?
I haven't had any rebate from them, so I guess I have.
Okay, and that vehicle was used as your own family car, that is your family, your wife and children?
Well, I had 2 cars.
Well, that was used solely as one of the 2 cars in your own family?
Yes.
Did you use it for anything in particular regularly?
Yes, I used it for tuning and repairing pianos.
You are also in that kind of work?
Yes.
Were you working with your father?
No.
Completely independent?
Yes.
Now, on the day of the fire, as I understand it, your mother and father were still residing in the trailer, or their residence was still the trailer out on Wilson Way?
Yes.
How long after that did they finally move out onto the Fargo place?
I couldn't tell you for sure.
Can you give me a rough idea?
No, I would guess right away.
3 months?
I don't know.
I am defense attorney Mr. Evers, E-V-E-R-S.
I am the court.
I am the witness.
I am plaintiff's attorney, Mr. Schumacher, S-H-U-M-A-K-E-R.
All right, does it start with me? Yes, it starts with me. Ready? Were you still living in Bakersfield at that time?
Yes, I was.
Were you still living on Dunlap?
No, I was living on Wilson.
Had you invited Shirley and your dad to the wedding?
Yes, but my dad was sick at the time.
Did you ask your brother to walk you down the aisle then?
Yes.
Were family photographs taken at the wedding?
Yes.
Was your brother in them?
Yes.
Do you remember when it was that you asked your brother to walk you down the aisle?
Probably about a month before that because he had contacted instructed me on what chapel to go get married at because we didn't live up there. He did.
You went to this chapel on his advice then to get married?
Uh-huh.
Did you have the girls with you at the wedding?
Yes, I did.
Did you have any pictures with your brother and the girls?
Yes, I did.
Did you observe your brother and your girls interact at all during the wedding?
Yes, they did.
Mr. Evers, how much longer do you have? We'll just come back after lunch. We will take our lunch recess. We will have until 1:30. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves or form or express any opinion on it until the matter is finally submitted to you. Record reflect that we're back in session in People versus Hughes. Mr. Hughes is present with Mr. Evers. Mr. Schumacher represents the people. Our 12 jurors and our alternate are present. Ms. German is still on the witness stand. She is still under oath. Mr. Evers, you were on cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Gearman.
Hi.
Before we broke, I was questioning you regarding, I believe it was Brandy. And do you recall back in the conversation that you had with Detective Moyer on September 11 of '96?
Do I remember what I said?
Regarding Brandy, yes.
Yeah, I remember some of it.
What do you remember regarding Brandy?
I was telling him about what happened.
I'll object to the question in terms of relevance unless it's tied into something.
Sustained.
Regarding Brandy's being touched, what do you remember telling Detective Moyer?
I told him about my husband and about John.
Did you find out that Brandy had been touched before or after you kicked Mr. Hughes out of the house?
Well, I found out that day that I told him to leave about Brandy, him touching Brandy.
Was that before or after you kicked him out of the house?
After.
Did you tell Detective Moyer that after finding out the disclosures from Brandy Gearman and after the examination by the doctor of Natasha Gearman, you kicked your brother out of the residence on Dunlap Street?
Yes.
You testified earlier also that you did continue to have contact with your brother after that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you tell Detective Moyer on that day that you had not seen your brother since you kicked him out of the house?
I don't think so. I don't think I did.
If Detective Moyer wrote that in a report, would that be untrue?
That would be untrue.
How old was Brandy when she reported this incident regarding the touching to you?
8, 9.
Brandy was 8 or 9?
Yeah.
How old is Brandy now?
16. Okay, maybe 11.
When your husband Michael got arrested, were the kids removed from your residence?
Yes.
Where did they stay?
Where did they stay?
Yes.
The first week they stayed in the Jameson Center, and after that they stayed with my stepmom and dad.
Would that be Otis and Shirley?
Yes.
How long did they reside there?
For 1 month.
How was it, if you know, how was it that they came back to your house?
Because I went through court and they ordered that I take not sole custody, but temporary custody of them, but they were still wards of the court.
Did your dad or Shirley make you aware of any problems that they were having with the girls while they were staying with them during that period?
No, they got in a couple of fights, but that was about it.
By they got into a couple of fights, who are you talking they?
Tammy and Brandy and Brooke,
Did you know what the fight was about?
because Timmy lies a lot, so the girls hate it when she lies, so they told her about it and she got upset
How do you know Timmy lies a lot?
just by knowing her.
Has she lied to you?
Uh-huh,
Have your girls lied to you?
uh-huh,
Do your girls lie to you?
uh-huh.
Do your girls do what you tell them to do?
Most of the time.
Are there times that they don't do what you tell them to do?
Yeah.
Who would you say of the four disobeys you the most?
Bridget.
Object on grounds of relevance.
Sustained.
Can you give me a specific example of a time when Bridget did not do what you told her to?
A specific time?
I'm going to again object on grounds of relevance.
Mr. Evers, what's the relevance?
Well, credibility of Bridget is at issue here, as well as the mother.
Whether she did something or didn't do it doesn't go to.
Sustained. That's not the proper way to impeach.
Have you had conversations with your daughters about what to say in court?
Have I had conversations with them?
Yes.
Yes.
And what did that conversation entail regarding what to say in court?
What to say in court?
Yes.
We kind of went over when we had the pre-trial, kind of the times and dates that they had, their ages.
When you say you went over it, did the girls have a specific or independent recollection of the dates that you're talking about?
They weren't sure how old they were, you know what I mean? When we lived on Green, and when we lived on Dunlap, so we went back and they remembered their grades, so we calculated what their age was.
Now, you're saying we, who is we?
Me and my daughter.
Anyone else?
Uh-uh.
Did you discuss with each daughter what specifically happened to them and what they were going to say in court about that?
No, I did not.
Do you know if anyone discussed with them what they were going to say in court about what happened to them?
No, they just told people like Ron Shoemaker what happened and the counselors. Other than that, nobody else.
What about the detective?
Yeah, they did tell him.
Were you there when they talked to him?
No, I was not.
Have you talked to the detective about what happened to them?
Moyer?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Were your girls present when you were talking to him?
No, they were not.
Where did the conversation take place between you and Detective Moyer?
He had called me at my house and told me they had taken my children into custody. So he told me to meet him at the police department over on Truxton. So me and my husband drove up there. They arrested my husband, and then he took me into a room and talked to me. He wanted to know exactly what happened.
This was on September 11 of 1996, correct?
Yes.
You had not talked to Detective Moyer prior to that?
No.
Had you talked to any law enforcement prior to that?
No.
Had you talked to any child protective services prior to September 11, 96?
No.
Had you discussed this thing regarding your husband and, as you put it, your brother John, between you and your husband?
Did I talk to my husband about what?
Well, when you said before that Scott and Tammy reported something, did you and your husband discuss that?
No, my husband showed me the police report.
So there was a police report before?
Yes, there was.
There was a police report before September 11 of 1996?
No, that day they made a police report and he showed me a police report after he went to his first preliminary hearing or whatever it's called.
You did not become aware of these allegations as far as being reported to the police department until September 11 of 1996?
True?
Did you speak with Tammy at all?
No.
How about Scott?
No.
So this was reported to you that Tammy and Scott were accusing your husband of molesting, and you didn't ask them about it?
It's on the police report.
Is that the police report dated September 11 of 96?
I guess, yes.
Let's go to something